welcome to episode 67 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined my best friend over in the entire world, over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today, buddy?
The entire world is in my hands right now.
Yes.
This beautiful gift I got from my wife. For those of you not listening, I'm holding a globe in my hand. But anyway, I'm doing well, Ray. It's sunny outside. It's 95-something degrees. I hate the heat. I miss the winter. I love the cold. That's just a general quote today. We have a ton to talk about today, so I'm not going to do my usual jokes, but so much sports news, so much geek news. This is the first really full episode you can bite into, like a really good brownie, I was going to say, or something like that. Like not a sandwich. This is like a tasty brownie. You just can't wait to sink your teeth into. Good luck not getting a brownie after this episode. Thanks so much for having me. Again, let's get going. Is it 66 or 67?
This is 67. This is 67.
67 episodes. Hot damn. Here we go.
We have a lot to talk about. Like you mentioned, we've got video game news. We've got comic book news, movie news, wrestling, football. But we're going to kick things off. And we also have a very special interview with our friend Casey Owasco, which we will talk about more later.
First fan review ever on this show. You want to stay tuned for that.
Yes, indeed. But first, we are kicking things off with baseball because it's a big weekend for baseball. It was opening weekend. They are the first sport to come back, even though they were the last one to get their act together. But they're the first one back. Yes, your Phillies we're doing pretty well, Lee, as we're recording this. They were 1-1. I don't know what they did in the third game with the Marlins, but they were 1-1.
I'm pretty sure we lost, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Now.
I know my
date.
Yankees,
we should probably tell people the date today.
Yes, today is the 26th, July 26th. Yes, it's airing on the 27th, but we're recording this on the afternoon of July 26th. I know my Yankees just beat the Nationals 3-2 to take 2 out of 3 of that opening series.
Phillies lost. So we're not going to talk. We're not going to talk about them.
So you lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins.
Not going to talk about them today.
To the Marlins. Awesome.
Not going to talk about them today.
Yes,
go Yankees. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. But we want to talk about a lot of news out of baseball, including on opening day itself. Baseball decided to announce a brand new playoff format. 16 teams, 8 from each league, the 3 division winners, the 3 second-place teams, then 2 additional wild cards, doing basically what hockey and basketball does, where it'll be 1 seed versus 8 seed in a short 3-game, best-of-3 first round, and then it follows into the traditional baseball paths of the division series, the championship series, and then, of course, the World Series. Lee, I think this is terrible. What are your thoughts on the new baseball playoff format?
My thoughts is the MLB wants to be like hockey, but that's none of my business.
Actually, isn't that your business? Isn't that all your business?
That's absolutely true. It is my business. It's a little out of the blue. I mean, I get why they're doing it, but baseball's been a mess this entire offseason. So It's like, it is what it is. I understand why they're doing it. I mean, there's obviously money involved in this with television revenue, and like that makes a lot of sense. It's something we talked about actually previewing our leadership. Our
leaderboard.
Leaderboard interviews. Sorry, man, I was mixing that up with something else I do with Seth Everett, which I know you're going to promo throughout the show.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't know, man. They've changed so much now. This is such a mess. It's spaghetti at the wall. And it's just like, I don't want to say let's get this season over with because I'm kind of excited now about the 60-game sprint. I like the way it's been kind of portrayed, but it's the same thing. What if the 16th or the 15th team comes through and wins the World Series? It's just gonna, it's gonna give them exactly what they want, right? Lots of talking points and it's just sometimes it's like, all right, whatever, we're doing this. We're actually doing this.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it much about what Rob Manfred is doing as commissioner. And again, actually, listen to our interview with Seth Everett this Thursday because Seth has some fantastic stories about how horrible a human being Rob Manfred is, basically, which was really eye-opening. I didn't like him to begin with, but now I like him even less. I didn't think that was possible. But yeah, I agree that this feels like just a desperate attempt at catching eyeballs and trying to get back some TV revenue. The opening day Yankees versus Nationals was the highest rated opening day baseball game in 9 years. Yeah. That should say something about where the sport is going in terms of its popularity. And I think that this is just a desperate attempt to try and excite the fan base after, like you said, what has been a terrible offseason for them and a terrible handling of COVID.
Yeah, and look, that was also a response to people just begging for sports. They were ready to watch anything. And they did. And, like, it's back. Again, I like the 60-game sprint idea. It's like, every game kind of counts. Again, there's going to be a lot of teams that are out of this thing early because of that. But we'll see where it goes. Sports are coming back. One is back. The rest are coming back at the end, but just a week or two here with hockey and the NBA.
Yep.
So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, next week's episode, we'll be able to talk about NBA and NHL games that mattered. The NHL playoffs begin on Saturday, August 1st. The NBA will start finishing its regular season on Thursday, the 30th. And also tomorrow, the NFL training camps report. So somehow, some way, sports are back. We'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah.
But you know what didn't last very long? Baseball in Canada. The Toronto Blue Jays are now the Buffalo Blue Jays for this 60-game season. Yet another example of a misstep by baseball, and also the Canadian government and not being able to come to an agreement to make this work with the major leagues. Also, Toronto is going through, they're having to do a major renovation to their AAA. Buffalo is their AAA affiliate, by the way, so it is within their organization. But they're having to do major renovations to the stadium, like super last minute, super hurried, to try and get it up to MLB standards for the players, and also to have social distancing and all as much as possible as can be done in a clubhouse. I mean, I know we just talked about it, but Lee, what is baseball doing?
I don't know, man. Look, again, we're going to talk about this all season. I don't understand why they didn't go to a bubble city or cities. I still don't understand the logic behind that. I mean, people have explained it. It doesn't make any sense. It's a major risk. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully baseball doesn't eat itself alive, like literally and figuratively now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, look, it's embarrassing in a lot of ways. I give the Blue Jays organization credit for figuring it out so fast and making something happen, but like, look, there are some concessions for coronavirus that make sense, right? Safety things and stuff like that. This isn't one of them. This is just an oversight and stupid. And, again, once again, we're going to talk about this again, but politics mixing with baseball, all right? And it is what it is. So, like I said, I feel bad for the Blue Jays in some way, in the sense of, like, from just a pure sporting sense, is that they're not going to be in their building and they're going to have to deal with probably for professional baseball players less than amicable means. But look, it is what it is. Let's play ball. Let's get through this. Again, I'm not saying let's get it over with, but like let's get through this and see what happens on the other end. Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out, and I'm definitely, I'm definitely curious to see what happens with Toronto and Buffalo, and how that stadium looks and plays and everything. But yeah, I mean, again, hopefully. The safety of the players really does come first. I mean, the last thing you want is somebody to get seriously sick from this, because it would taint any sport, any of these sports that come back and somebody gets sick. It would taint them, almost irreversibly. I think to a point that to a really bad point. I'll speak for both of us here. Is that you and I have always been a big proponent of sports coming back as long as they're being safe. Yeah. All right. And again, look, there is always going to be a risk factor. Even when this kind of ends, there's a risk factor because people can get other diseases or this disease. But it's about reducing risk. I think the other leagues have done everything they can to reduce the risk, to minimize it as much as possible to an acceptable level, which is what they've done. This is not acceptable. I don't know what to say. It's a major risk. And like I said, we'll see what baseball does. That's all I can say. And I'm going to say this, too. I wish nothing but the best. I really do. I don't want there to be any problems. Hopefully we get through this season with no problems. That would be a really big feather in everyone's cap, not just baseball. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The Buffalo Blue Jays. I don't even know if they have Blue Jays in Buffalo. We'll find out. They do now. So. Yeah, maybe, but they for sure. They do now, yeah. But so you did briefly mention politics in sports, and it's going to bring us up to a big topic of the week, and something that's been, I know on my personal Facebook page has riled up a lot of folks. And that's my fault because I'm an idiot. But you're not an idiot. Let me give a little disclaimer here, okay? Because Ray and I are about to talk about something that has a little bit of politics in it. So if you do not want to listen to this, we completely respect that. Go look at the episode. Look at the time codes. Yeah. You'll know when to skip forward to. No judgment at all if you don't want to hear any of this, okay? With that said, this is something that Ray and I will probably have different opinions on. Yeah. Okay? We're going to respect each other's opinion because we both know that we're after the same thing at the end of the day. Yes. Okay? I'm sorry if I sound condescending. I'm really not trying to, okay? Yeah. But we're going to have a civil discussion, and this is the challenge to you as the listener. You will agree with one of us or the other on what we're about to discuss, most likely. Okay? Yep. All right? It's probably unlikely you're going to agree with both of us on this. I don't want you to formulate a grand opinion of Ray or myself based on one opinion that we may or may not have. Okay? We're going to discuss it, and we're going to move on from it civilly. And Ray and I do this, just so you know, we do this all the time.
Yes.
All right?
Off the air, we talk about this.
Yeah, we do not, more often than not, we do not align on this quite a bit. Okay? So your job is not to throw something at your TV and be upset and call for everything and go crazy about it. All right? As a listener of the show, first off, we thank you. And we respect you, and you know that. We're asking you to respect us and our collective opinions here, or not collective, whatever the phrase is there. Listen to what we're saying. Take it in. Feel free to disagree with either one of us. Feel free to comment on that civilly. We can have a good discussion. Don't have to agree. Totally fine. And then we'll move on from it. The way it used to be.
Yeah. The one thing we do agree on before we say that is that we are in an atmosphere right now where everything is politically charged.
Everything.
Everything.
This Pokeball is political. You know why? Because it's red and not half blue. All right? Get out of here, Pokeball.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's everything is
I hope we got that sound effect.
Everything is very politically charged right now.
Look at me, everybody. He chose a side, okay? And he can't walk now.
That's right.
All right? Well, he can.
He's holding up his War Machine figure. For those of you
War Machine. He can walk because Tony Stark's a genius. But Tony Stark is dead. You know what color his suit is? Red. All right? You know whose suit's blue? Captain America. Pick a side. That's not going to happen.
Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War.
Except that's a whole other thing.
Wait till listen. They're going to announce aliens any week here. You think I'm joking? You watch. It's coming.
All right. So let's get into the actual subject at hand. This was actually very controversial.
Extremely.
So,
it shouldn't have been, but it is. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off. First, Dr. Anthony Fauci threw out the first pitch for the Nationals-Yankees game. Totally understandable. It was up there with the 50 Cent first pitch, by the way. It was really bad.
Horrible.
But the man, give him a credit, he has a lot more important things on his mind.
And he's a known Nats fan. He's been wearing a Nats mask since we started wearing it.
Yes, no, he was one of the biggest proponents when the Nats moved to Washington, D.C. Obviously, he's a man who's lived in that area for I think, the better part of the past 40 years.
Yeah, and to be fair, when it happened, I said, that's really cool. This guy's done a lot of work for humanity, whether you like him or not. And, that's a nice gesture because he's done a lot of work for humanity.
Yeah,
cool.
HIV, AIDS.
That's kind of where it ended for me.
Yeah,
that was what I thought.
Yes.
Until
it then came out that Donald Trump announced that he would be throwing out the first pitch August 15th at the Yankees-Red Sox game at Yankee Stadium.
Yes. Yes.
And there was obviously the first reaction is like, well, of course he's only doing this because Fauci threw out a pitch at a baseball game because that's Donald Trump. Right. However, it's the kind of thing that he would look. It's the kind of thing he would do. He likes to have the spotlight on him. The thing is, though, is that baseball this opening weekend and for all the season, all the players are wearing Black Lives Matters patches. They had a big thing, especially Yankees and Nationals. Everyone took a knee before the national anthem. They held this long black banner across both teams.
Every team. Yep.
Every team did something.
And they all have BLM on the mound, too.
So, yes, exactly. Yes, there was BLM in all around the stadiums. The Red Sox actually put up a 250-foot banner on the outside of Fenway Park that says Black Lives Matter, which I never thought I would say this in my life, but wow, I agree with Boston. But it's
is being recorded, right?
It is being recorded. This is the only time in my 35 years on Earth that I've agreed with something the Red Sox have done.
Well, that's not true. You agree with the trade for Ruth. Come on.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. All right.
Greatest pitchers in Red Sox history.
Yes, but we're beating around the bush. So basically what ends up happening is that when Trump announced this, obviously Trump has been very much against the protesters and the Black Lives Matters movement and the organization and a lot of other this whole idea, I think, of what is behind this. Now we're going to get into this, and because of this, I feel that this is very hypocritical of Major League Baseball and especially very hypocritical of the Yankees. And we also talk about with Seth later in the week. He has also a very good opinion on this. Yes, again, it's his opinion. It's an educated opinion.
What's edumacated mean?
It's an edumacated, yes. But but I feel this was, and also we should also mention, literally right before we started recording the show.
Yes.
Donald Trump changed his mind. He's no longer throwing out the first pitch, but for the 36 hours that he was going to do this.
He's going to do it in the future, he said. So it's going to happen this season, later this season.
At some point, yes, when things maybe calm down. But at the moment, it blew up. It blew up in a bad way. It was a bad look for baseball. It was a bad look for Trump. Not that he cares, but to me, it seemed very hypocritical again because it's somebody who basically represents the opposition to Black Lives Matter, coming out during a season where this has really kind of been baseball's mantra, and really trying to carry that banner and that flag and trying to champion this movement and this cause, which we've talked about this on the show, is a righteous cause. Black Lives Matter.
So again, the thing about Black Lives Matter is that it's a very complicated situation in this, that there's an organization called Black Lives Matter, and then there's the statement Black Lives Matter. And Ray and I have said the statement several times on this show without any problem that Black Lives Matter. Obviously, the organization is not as black and white, no pun intended at all on that, as the statement. Okay, so the organization is extremely controversial in my opinion. And it stands for some things
recently,
it stands for some things that I cannot get behind. That's all I'm going to say. All right, from both a religious point of view and also a cultural point of view, it has nothing to do with race, believe it or not. All right, so I think first off, it's a very confusing situation. So when we say things like, "Oh, this guy is against Black Lives Matter," well, now I don't know what that means, right? And we're not going to get into it because again, that's not the point of the conversation. This is what I think on some of these things. Okay. Boy, it's great to have sports back, right? Where we can ignore the fact. Like, again, this is my big problem with people that are complaining about this too much. Not everybody. You're allowed to have an opinion. People are dying because of this virus. People are dying.
Yeah.
And we're focused on the president throwing out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. That in itself is hypocritical. And now, Ray, I want to make clear, I'm not saying you're being hypocritical. This is kind of what we do here. It's our job to talk about it, to formulate an opinion on it, totally. But both sides of the political spectrum are arguing over this right now. And in the end of the day, it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Now, you can disagree with me here. Sure, that this is the president and he's throwing out the first pitch. I'm sorry. I just don't put that much onus on it. The other thing, too, is that, a lot of people are saying this, not the first president to have done this. The situations are very different. Okay, it's not unheard of for the president to throw a ball at Yankee Stadium.
No, it's not.
It's just an election year. There's a pandemic going on, so it's a different setting, and I get this. I think the bigger deal we make about it, the worse it becomes, all right? I think it's I want to word this rightly. It's not unfair criticism of what baseball's trying to do. If you don't like Donald Trump, it's not unfair criticism to say that, like, this stands against everything. It's very easy to forget, depending on where you live, half the country voted for this man and half the country didn't. So no matter what he does, he's promoting to his base that 50% of people that voted for him, okay, without getting too minute. I don't want to go down any rabbit holes here today.
Yeah.
Okay? I also think that the entire Yankee team participated in the BLM holding of the black cloth.
Yes.
The entire Yankee team, I think, kneeled for that. The entire Yankee team did the right thing. So now we're just going to wash that out to make it a political argument. They say that the Yankees organization is so evil, when in fact the players did do exactly what it was that's been respected around the league. It just shows how divisive this issue is. It's been 4 years. I don't know why anyone, whether you like Trump or don't, I'm very apolitical. Okay, those of you who know me know that. I do not have a party. I am a proud independent voter. All right, and Ray will tell you I am frustratingly in the middle at times, okay, when people want me to go one way or the other, okay? But I do not identify with either party, okay? But it's been 4 years, and we're shocked that this guy's doing this. I mean, focus on the real. This is what they want. If you're for him, they want you to focus on it in a yes, whatever he wants to do way, and if you're against them, they want you to focus on it against way. Stop doing this to yourself.
Yeah.
Who are you serving here with this? That's my honest opinion, okay? So what I'm saying is that I think both parties are complete BS. Complete.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't like either party. And I think the fact that we're allowing them to politicize baseball and do all of this stuff, which has always been the case. We talk about that with Seth, too. It's never been a time where sports have not been politicized. Don't politicize my sports. It's always been like that through history. Okay? You just remember the bad times. That when George Bush threw out the first ball after 9/11, no one remembers that as a bad time. It was a triumphant moment. So you pick and choose your battle. So this is my stance on it. I understand both sides. I really do. And I'm here to tell you that, not that I don't care about him doing it. It's just that presidents have done this before. It's not unheard of. If he was doing it down for the Texas Rangers, no one would say anything. All right? And yes, I do understand the political thing about Donald Trump giving New York the middle finger, even though he's from New York, which is another catch-22. He's the most New York person I've ever met. Or I've never met him. That's the other funny thing about him. Again, not going on this round. Donald Trump is the most New Yorker in the history of New York. And New Yorkers hate him, which is also the most New York thing in the history of New York.
Yeah.
Right? Shocking. Anyway, that's an outsider's point of view. So, again, this is the first thing I would say. No matter what side you're on this, and you do not have to agree with me on this. I can't say that enough, okay? People are dying. There's a massive pandemic. That's what's important right now. Okay? Put on your mask. All right? Especially you listening at home. All right? Put on your mask and just be good to each other right now. Okay? We don't have time to be at each other's necks like this. Okay? This is the last thing I'm going to say on it. Everyone is looking to point the finger right now. If you're going to point the finger at someone, point it at yourself right now. Not one of us, including me or Ray, is innocent in this. Not one of us. We all contributed negatively and positively in some way. The truth is, the virus is spreading around the country because we are spreading the virus. Okay? There's zero accountability on us for some reason right now. I don't care what Trump says, what Fauci says, what the left says, what the right says, what Biden says. I don't care. You make the decisions for your own life. Okay? Take some accountability. Do what's right for you and your family. Okay? I know there's people out there saying, well, not everyone's doing that. You can't control that. All right? So you can't control the President of the United States throwing out the first pitch. If that's the biggest problem of your day, it's a great day. I really mean that. If that's the biggest problem of your day, it's a great day. All right? Feel free to comment below this episode, but we will not tolerate infighting and massive insults. If you're going to have a conversation, it's got to be civil. That is the one rule we have for that. If it's not civil, it goes away.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you didn't turn off. I'm Lee Elias, and this is 2020.
Yeah, this is 2020. Yeah, I mean, I think just one quick last thing to say is it's not the act of the president throwing out the first pitch. It's the act of this particular president during an MLB season that is trying to champion this particular movement, and it seems like oil and water. It just seems
sure. Depending on how you see the situation, right? So I totally get that aspect of it, and I'm saying that if you want to put a lot of onus on that, you can. I think we're focusing on the wrong thing. That's all I'm trying to say.
No,
again,
if you're
if you're totally for Trump, this is a great move. And now here's the thing for Trump supporters: if you're looking at, I almost did it. If you're looking at this like a middle finger. Okay, I mean, that's kind of wrong, too. You know what should be is a unifying moment for the country that the president's throwing out the first pitch. And believe me, I'm under no delusions that is absolutely not possible at all to be a unifying moment. Okay? But, you would hope for that. And, David Portnoy, actually, we should talk about this. David Portnoy, El Presidente of Barstool Sports, interviewed the president the other day in an unprecedented interview in which, I've never seen anything quite like that. But he did ask the president, and you can say this is BS all you want, but he did ask the president, and this is something that generally you would hope was true, that if a perfect candidate, which is impossible, but if a candidate came along that was great and is exactly what the country needed, would you step aside? And I remember Trump actually said yes, and I was shocked to hear that because it's not usually he says, well, I am the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
But look, guys, the farther apart we get, the more we lose, and it's not the other side's fault. It's us. Okay? It's us. We are in control, whether you want to believe that or not. You're in control of your life. Be a good dad. Be a good mom. Be a good person. The more people that do that, the better. You can tell me that's not realistic. That's fine. It's your opinion. But I'm saying you can only focus on what you control. Okay? That's like a universal law. All right? If you want to worry, you can do that. That's within your control. All right? I choose to think that the president throwing out the first pitch is not more important than treating my neighbor nicely. That's just me. You do not have to agree with me. I can't say that enough. All right? And I think that as a nation, we do need to stop conveniently linking Black Lives Matter, the organization, to Black Lives Matter, the statement. I think that that's a disservice to a lot of people as well. Okay? I'm going to say this again. Black Lives Matter, the statement, 100% agree with it. All right? I understand it the best someone of my color can understand that. All right? Which means we'll never understand it, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Okay?
Exactly.
But the organization, I'm saying this to you, just stands for some things that I do not personally agree with. Okay? And that has nothing to do with race. I can't say that enough. Okay? But like, it's a confusing situation. Again, civil conversation. We're not going to agree on it, and that's okay. He's still my brother.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right?
Look, we're still this is called discourse. This is called intelligent civil discourse.
And this is the last episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. This week. No, I was kidding. Yeah. That's how it's conversation. Okay?
Yes, and now
we don't agree on things all the time. We both learn and we shake hands and move. Well, not anymore, but we elbow across the country and move on with our lives. And it's Tuesday.
And yes, and tomorrow I will punch Lee out. Speaking of punching guys out.
Wait, what?
I'm just trying to squeeze in the transition, buddy.
That's fine. Good one.
Speaking of punch out, Mike Tyson is fighting Roy Jones Jr. Yes.
Perfect transition.
There we go. Squeezed it in. Mike Tyson is coming out of retirement for one exhibition match. He's 54 years old against the 51-year-old Roy Jones Jr. Of course, both of them amazing boxers in their prime. It will be an 8-round exhibition. Lee, look, they're both very good shape for their age. But is this going to be anything that anybody really is going to be happy watching? Like, what do you think of this fight?
I'm actually not so much concerned with the audience. I think the audience is going to love it. I think it'll be a good boxing match from a boxing standpoint. I'm more concerned about Mike Tyson. He's made so many amazing strides as a human being since his career ended. And from everything I've heard, he's a really great person and a really intelligent person nowadays. So, I'm going to have to assume that he didn't just do this lightly, and maybe this is some sort of a peaceful thing for him or coming full circle. And I hope he can leave this exhibition where he left off and move on with his life in a good, positive way. And we know he can still box. I mean, or we know he can still move from videos we've seen of him doing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually don't want to see this derail him. Now, we also know there's a biopic coming out with him starring Jamie Foxx. So I'm wondering if this is also a marketing move of some sort just to get his name back in the media. But honestly, above all, the match aside, the fans aside, I really hope this doesn't put him off course, because he's really turned his life around. Yeah. This is a man who had major mental illness. And is on a really good path right now. So I wish him the best. That's what I'm saying. I hope he's got, and I'm sure he does. I can't believe he would do this for no reason, but a grip on this, and this is a way to put closure on his boxing career, which he never really got. To be totally fair.
To be fair, no, that is true. I mean, obviously, he also, part of the reason for that was, of course, he went to jail. Because again,
do it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. He again, you mentioned it. He had myriad issues during his prime as a boxer, as a person. And he went, and it took him a long time, but he got the help that he needed. And he, like you said, especially the past 10 years, he's really kind of turned his life around. And God bless him for it. Like, I mean, seriously, like, I grew up. Look, the last time to me boxing was relevant was when Mike Tyson was in the ring.
For sure, yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember Tyson Holyfield still, even leading up to it, even before the ear thing, which became obviously a whole that completely turned that whole match, the view on it around. But like, that was gonna be the match of like the century. And obviously it didn't live up to that hype quite. It was a good match. It was a good boxing match until the end where he bit his ear off. But it was again, that to me, that's the last time boxing was relevant. And I think that alone will probably get some people of a certain age to watch this, to see.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, is the last two memories I have of Mike Tyson boxing, are the ear incident with Holyfield, and then him quitting in the match, in the middle of a match. Yeah. And to be very fair to Mike Tyson, that is absolutely not the legacy he deserves in boxing. He was and is one of the most dominant boxers in the history of boxing.
Yes. His
uppercut was the thing of hellish dreams, and he was one of the best all time, if not the best of all time. He is in the conversation of the top 3 boxers of all time easily.
Yeah.
So I hope that this puts closure on it. I'm not expecting anything amazing. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a charity aspect to the match. I'm sure there will be outside the gate.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. And again, I hope this is a positive win or lose or draw. A final note for Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, Jr. on this entire situation.
Yeah, no, for sure. We wish them all the best, and we're curious to see where it goes, for sure. But we staying in the squared circle, but going from boxing to wrestling now. This was interesting this week. So, of course, with the pandemic, the WWE and AEW have continued to do their respective shows locally, both in Florida, AEW in Jacksonville, WWE down in Orlando. AEW only has the one show, so they're going against NXT for WWE, and people are calling it the Wednesday Night Wars since it debuted, since AEW Dynamite debuted. And honestly, they've been going back and forth. There was one point WWE actually won 3 weeks in a row until last week, where WWE saw a huge drop and AEW saw a huge rise. And again, for Wednesday primetime basic cable wrestling, these aren't huge numbers, but they're pretty significant. Basically, AEW got 250,000 more people to watch than WWE, which right now is a huge deal. Almost over 800,000 people. Chris Jericho turned it into a promo. He calls himself the demo god now because they actually won the 18 to 49-year-old male demographic. Nice, and WWE actually fell off a cliff with that demo. So they basically, the most important demo almost all migrated this week to AEW. And I'll tell you, folks, if you didn't see it this week, it was so worth it. I mean, it was old school WWE stuff. Cody Rhodes got power bombed into a bed of thumbtacks. We're talking late 90s Attitude Era wrestling. If you missed that, if you missed those storylines, you missed that action, look, I've been a WWE guy for a very, very long time, but AEW right now, to me, is where it's at. And they deserve to win the ratings this week. But it's a big deal because supposedly now people within WWE are panicking. Because they realize they have even with the pandemic and letting go a lot of guys, they have a very bloated roster. They're supposedly doing an angle now with Pat McAfee, the former punter for the Colts, who does a podcast show. They had one of the NXT guys come on and curse him out on his podcast and break a microphone and all this other stuff. It seems that WWE is getting desperate. Raw, SmackDown, all of the shows are not doing nearly as well as they were pre-pandemic. Understandably so, but the fact that they're now losing to AEW, and AEW is already talking about adding a second show to their rotation, it as a wrestling fan, and we talk about this all the time in the show, when people compete, we win. And it finally seems like that now, after having a monopoly for about 15 years, WWE has some legit competition again, and AEW is up to the challenge.
Yeah, well, this was the only logical thing that was going to happen. We've been talking about how WWE has been stagnant for really a decade. I mean, if you really put a number on, it's been about a decade since they've had anything unbelievable. I mean, their major stars have moved on or aged out. All right. I know there's a big rumor now. I don't know how true it is about McMahon stepping aside for Triple H to become really the head of the WWE, which would not be a bad move in my opinion. But I'm going to come back to what you said, Ray. Like, this is good for both sides. They'll figure it out. I do not think AEW has anywhere near the amount of money that the WWE has. So I think it's more likely that they'd be absorbed if someone were to win this war, that AEW would be absorbed. Or you're going to have the NWO come back and it's going to be the same thing, and they'll figure out a way in terms of like that kind of storyline. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that, it's like they're invading each other. It's a great thing. The competition's very welcome. I think you're going to see this go back and forth, though. I've heard people ranting and raving about AEW. WWE will come up to the challenge. It's going to be interesting to see if they keep it in the family-friendly realm, because like the way the WWF won the war against WCW was just going incredibly extreme.
Yes,
incredibly extreme, and that's how they ended up winning that.
And that's what AEW is doing right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to this. It's also going to be interesting to see, like, will they start pulling out the same cards they always do? Am I going to see The Rock all of a sudden show up one week on WWE, which he'll do. He'll do that for them, right? This is family, all right? He has always helped out the WWE whenever they've asked him to. Yeah. So I fully expect to see that at some point. Is Stone Cold going to pop up? I mean, they've got him all over the place. You're going to start to see them pulling out the cards. And again, we win. We win when it happens. Yeah.
Well, that's why Edge came back.
Yeah.
That's why they brought Edge back.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're going to start seeing them pull cards out. And again, at the end of the day, the viewer will win. So enjoy the ride.
No, it's great, but it's a lot of fun. And I'll just say this on the money aspect over. You gotta remember the guys who own AEW, the Cons, also own the Jaguars, so it's billionaire versus billionaire basically. Now the question is going to be though, if AEW starts to lose money, will they just throw in the towel? Whereas because this isn't their only venture. Whereas with the McMahons, WWE, that's their lives. They're not going to throw in the towel anytime soon.
I'll tell you what will end this, all right? From a business standpoint, AEW knows that WWE was hemorrhaging money because of the XFL and that they had an open bleeding wound because of that. And there are still talks. Believe it or not, the XFL is still not completely dead, and there are a lot of talks about Disney being very interested. If Disney comes in, that's the end of the fight. If Disney comes in and supports WWE, that's the end. You cannot compete with that.
Yeah.
In terms of just the business financial side.
Right. No,
again,
for sure.
The war might go on, but it's over. Okay.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
So we'll see what happens. That's what if I was WWE, if I was looking for the Hail Mary, I'm getting Disney involved. And Disney will say you have to be family friendly, and they would go, how much money you got?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. WWE isn't that far away from family friendly now anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying. Disney's not going to support AEW. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, for sure, exactly. Although WWE had that weird eye for an eye match. I don't know if you heard about this: Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, where it was clear that Seth Rollins pulled a eyeball out of Rey Mysterio's mask, where obviously it was a fake. It just was what? I get it was Extreme Rules, but look, this feels like mid '90s WWE where they're trying. But they're missing more than they're hitting out of the park.
They will figure it out. Honestly, give the Triple H the reins. I think I would trust him to know what to do.
Yeah, I
agree.
really
mean that. Let him have it. It's time. No offense to Vince, but you did it. You did great. Move aside.
Yeah.
Triple H is the guy. Obviously, let Stephanie. You have your heir. You have your legacy set.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave losing to AEW.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. For sure. Speaking of, this is gonna be a tough one. Speaking of, oh man, all right. Speaking of not wanting to be a loser, a new franchise was announced in Seattle this week. Okay, all right, it was all right. It was a C+.
Speaking of rising from the deep with tentacles of hatred,
yes, it's official. It's not
release the Kraken.
Indeed, it is official. The Seattle franchise in the NHL is now going to be named the Kraken, which means now all the nicknames are coming out for the Crack House, the Crack Den. The fans will be the Crack Heads, and this is true. They are already sponsored by Kraken Rum.
Yes. Hey Ray, don't put a crack in our relationship. Ow, Ray.
For those of you watching, know that Lee just slapped himself.
You psychedelically did that.
Yeah, yes. If I had those psychic powers, I would
Professor
not be wasting
X over here.
I would not be wasting them on slapping you. No offense, buddy.
That is confirmed.
That is true. There's a lot of other things I'd be doing. Anyway.
Yes, you would. Yeah,
NHL, so 32nd franchise. This is a big deal. We talked about this with Seth Everett again later in the week.
Yes.
How the NHL is quietly growing and really becoming... to the chagrin of Max Kellerman, one of the four major sports again in North America, because they are the second major sport now with 32 teams, which is going to make their playoffs work a lot better.
Yeah, so half the teams in the league make the playoffs now every single year, which is a great system for the NHL. It always has been. Right off the bat, we talk about this again with Seth later this week. Make sure you catch up for our full thoughts. Kraken, Seattle Kraken, great name, great unveiling, great logo. Yes. They did a phenomenal job.
Much better than the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, we hate the Blue Jackets branding here. Great team, good coach, bad branding, but... look, I think they nailed it in terms of if they didn't call it the Kraken, there would have been outrage. Everybody wanted that name. The other thing, too, is that, the fan base sold out the building right away. I think they sold their tickets out in 10 minutes when they announced the team. And apparently their merchandising sales doubled that of when the Vegas Golden Knights were created.
Yeah, the same time period.
Clearly,
they had double,
clearly ready for hockey in Seattle, Washington. So I'm happy to have them in the league. Welcome to the league. The fan base looks great, all right? And, all the drawing. But some people said they hate the logo. It's a great logo. They did everything right.
Beautiful logo. Beautiful.
Yeah, they did everything right.
Then
Then they tried to chirp everybody in the league when their Twitter account now says on the end when they were unveiled, the Twitter account says, "We can't wait to steal your favorite player in the expansion draft."
I was just about to say, now we'll see what happens if they can nail the expansion draft and do what the Vegas Knights did.
They get it. They get it right away. As you said, Ray, the NHL is really doing a great job of understanding 21st century sports. Yeah. People make fun of it. They're growing. Statistics show that they have the most technologically advanced fan base, and they're leaning right into that. So, whereas things of what's the biggest sport in America used to matter, it doesn't matter. Hockey's focused on its own. They've done more growth in the last 20 years than any other of the major sports. Obviously, if you take account things like rugby and lacrosse, it's a different stat. But great move, great job. If you want to see our full thoughts on that, listen to that Seth Everett interview on Thursday or whenever you're done listening to this one.
So moving on to speaking of team names.
Speaking of team names in Washington.
Yes, exactly.
We move from one Washington. Watch this. Ready? I'm going to put my finger and you're going to pick it up. Ready? Grab it. Yeah, boing.
And we're going to go all the way across to the other side of the country.
Boy, I really hope we're not on opposite sides of the screen when this airs. Okay.
Yeah. Washington, D.C. So the team once known as a name we will not say. They are now simply known as the Washington Football Team. They are still working. It's it's too close to the season. They can't get the rights to whatever mascot they're looking for, whether it's Red Wolves, Red Tails, Warriors, whatever it might be. There's been a bunch thrown out there. Code Talkers. They can't get it. So for this season, it's just going to be known as the Washington Football Team. They're going to maintain their colors of burgundy and gold. Hail to the Football Team does not have the ring to it as the other song did, but it is what it is. And
they're still going to say Redskins in Washington this year. Even the fans are.
They're still going to say it. But so I mean, it is what it is. They did get some good news this week, but first off, Lee, what are your thoughts on the Washington Football Team?
Yeah, I think people are being a little too hard on them. Look, to do a major rebrand of your entire football team and everything that goes with it, it takes time, whether you want it to or not. Okay, right. And I'll tell you what I mean about that in a minute. Look, they retired the name. That was the problem, and they did it. Okay, and we talked this before. Oh, it's only because money talking. That's fine. There are people behind the money that force this that are obviously good people. You can't always just make them look like bad guys. All right, they decided to change the name. I'm not going to beat this team up for not having a name in 3 weeks. It's a major professional sport rebrand. They did the right thing. There's no fans in the building this year. Take your time. Do it right. As Ray said, the perfect name that everybody probably thinks they know is probably having a problem. They're probably having a problem getting it. Okay, so I think this is the right move. It's a bold move. People are saying it's a middle finger to everybody. It might be, to be fair. I don't know. But I can't expect the team to rebrand themselves in 3 weeks to the point it's going to have the impact that you want. Now, to be fair, a lot of professional athletes came out and were ripping on them. LeBron James came out against them doing this, a few other athletes. And I'm saying I don't agree with them. I think if they're doing it right, they're going to take their time and they're going to get the right name. And they're going to do it right. And that's what every sports franchise, if whatever your teams are, you would expect them to do that. That is, in my opinion, the right thing to do. A lot of people said they had a chance to make a stand and do it, and I'm like, if the perfect name was available and they can get everything done, and it was like everything fell perfectly in place, which by the way never happens ever. Okay, I agree with you, but look, they're going to take their time. They're going to do it right. I expect them to have actually a pretty good unveiling now. Now, if they screw that up, that's on them, right? But you can't expect a major sports franchise to rebrand from head to toe in 3 to 4 weeks. It's not possible. I run a business. I'm telling you, it's not possible. We plan things a year ahead of time sometimes, and they still don't come to fruition in time. So I'm not a football club. Okay, so I'm just saying, this makes sense. It's a logical thing from a business point of view. They can make a statement that everybody wants, which I don't disagree that they should. They can do that in a lot of different ways this season. Okay, it doesn't have to be rushing the team name. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, just look at the team we just talked about, Seattle. It took them months to announce that they were going to be called the Kraken. Like it's like Lee said, there are other things at work here than the politics
people.
or the.
That's what you want. You want to appease people. Like that's not how this works.
Yeah, like I mean, there's look, and you said it. Yeah, like Lee said, look, you all complain. It's like, oh, it's all about the money. It's like, yeah, but it got the job done, right? And the thing is that yes, and it's also because of the money that they're going to take their time because look, the professional football team that's $1 billion property, and like look, as much as none of us like Dan Snyder. Right? Nobody likes Dan Snyder.
Redskins fans don't like Dan Snyder.
No, exactly. But
I'm sorry, Washington football team fans. I apologize.
Yeah, but the thing is like, look, I mean, the dude's a businessman. He might not be a good businessman, but he's going to try and do the best for his business.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think it's hypocritical that you're going to rip on these huge companies but not support them. So where is the outpouring of love for FedEx right now for getting this done?
Yeah.
Okay, where's the outpour of love for FedEx for taking a stand and saying, you know what, we're not going to support the team? And if you're going to come back with them, well, they're billionaires.
And all the other companies, we're ready to fall out.
Guys, you got to take victories when you get victories. Yeah. Whoever it was. My point is that you know, look, if you're going to complain about something, I would complain about, well, why did it take all this for them to do that? But the truth is this, they're doing it. Yeah. Massive action is taking place. Yes. That's a good thing. Okay, I'm not going to do it on the show. I can make a very compelling argument, but because there's money behind it, because there's that type of commerce behind it, that this is actually moving faster than it should.
Yeah.
Okay, with that said, it's also moving slower than it should. Depends how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it as a 100-year, 200, 300-year time period, this is moving pretty fast. If you're looking at it over the last year, no. Because this is the first time in my life, each day feels like 48 hours, and each month feels like a week.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's all about the perspective of things. But speaking of perspective, like I did mention at the beginning of this story, Washington did get some good news this week, and this is actually a great story because actually I've always actually really felt for this guy because he really got a raw deal in a lot of ways. For those of you who don't know, Alex Smith was the quarterback for Washington for a while there, and then no better way to describe it, he got Joe Theismann.
His leg is destroyed.
His leg was absolutely obliterated in ways that they thought they might have had to amputate his leg. That's how badly broken.
You can look up pictures of how bad this leg looks. It does not look like a normal leg anymore.
Yeah,
I'll put it that
huge
way.
sensor warning.
If you're cool with that.
I was gonna say like definitely like you got to have the stomach for it, folks. But
I'm talking about heel that looks weird. But go ahead, yeah.
But he announced this week that he is going to be there practicing with the team, that he has been medically cleared, that after I think 2 years,
amazing,
his leg with rods and bolts and everything else to put it back together, he's ready to try and play football and try and finish out this contract with Washington.
Bionic quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, first off, I pray he never gets hit. I pray nobody gets hit like that ever again.
Yeah, it was tough.
You know what I mean? Goodness, I mean, we talked about this when it happened. I mean, on the anniversary of when of it happening to Joe Theismann. I mean, just like talk about the stars aligning in a bad way. Like it
breaking.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just.
You never want to see that happen.
No, even to somebody who plays for Washington as a Giants and Eagles fan.
No athlete. You don't want to see that happen to anybody.
Right. No, exactly. And it just. But it's a good story. If he can play this year, obviously front runner for comeback player of the year.
Easily.
Like you just and again, a guy who got a raw deal. He had 6 head coaches in 7 years in San Fran. Jim Harbaugh came around, turned his career around, showed that he was actually a talented quarterback once you actually put pieces around him and put him in the right scheme. He went to Kansas City, did very, very well with Andy Reid. And then so well that when they had Patrick Mahomes, they traded him to Washington. And you know, I mean, he turned himself into a very solid NFL quarterback after having a very rough start to his career. And so, again, hopefully, you know, I hope he has a good bounce back. Not good enough that Washington does anything. Like, I still hope they finish like 4-12. But like, I hope he has a good year and he comes back. And it's good to hear that this all's well, that seemingly all's well has ended well, at least up to this point for Alex Smith. So, wanted to mention that. Speaking of still in the NFL, big actual NFL transaction news this week. This has been rumored for a while, but I think part of it with one of their safeties being arrested for armed robbery down in Florida. The Seattle Seahawks have finally struck a deal with the New York Jets. The Jets have been shopping him around for a while because Jamal Adams did not want to sign a deal with the Jets. Look, the Jets are a just very disorganized organization. They are not a good organization. But in this deal, I will say the Jets actually came out ahead because they sent Jamal Adams and a 4th-round pick to Seattle for 2 first-round picks next year and the year after from Seattle, and I believe another pick, and I can't remember which round it was in, but the 3rd pick. So to get all that back for a safety, I don't care how good Jamal Adams is.
Yeah.
The Jets, to me, are the winner in this deal, hands down, and I can't remember the last time I ever said that, Lee.
Well, again, if you get 1 first-round pick, it's a win.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing about that. I don't know how they got 2 out of it. So it's one of those things of like, I think people underestimate sometimes how gold those draft picks are. Yeah. So here's the deal. We've said this on the show before. 50% of first-round picks pan out. So it's almost a lock that one of those 2 guys they draft is going to be a pretty big player for the team.
Yep.
Unless they screw up twice, which is the Jets, so that's very possible. But
right.
They're going to have other first-round picks. So like this is one of those moves that can rebuild the team if you do it right.
Very quickly.
Yeah. So if you're talking about 4 first-round picks now in the next 2 years, unless you trade them away for no good reason. Which again the Jets have been known to do. But hopefully you have the right GM right now. You have the right coach. This is your chance, but if I was a Jets fan, I'd be knowing what's going to happen is you're going to be completely disappointed and you're going to make the playoffs and lose in the first round, and you're going to have to deal with it, and then you're going to talk about how great they were in the 70s and we have to hear about it.
Still talking about Joe Namath.
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care less what happened in the game.
Oh, speaking of games, that really brings us to...
Thank goodness.
This brings us to our geek section. We're going to kick things off this week with something special. We have our first fan review, something we're doing here on the site, geekswhoLikeSports.com. A good friend of ours, Casey Owasco, reviewed a game called DayZ for the Xbox One, originally a PC game.
DayZ, not Jay-Z.
DayZ. Like Luigi's girlfriend, Daisy. Kind of, sort of, maybe. Anyway, but listen, we want to welcome Casey to the show now. So check this out, and then on the other end, obviously, we're gonna come back. We got a lot more games to talk about. All right, everyone, we have a very special segment now with the show, continuing our talk about video games. We have a special guest joining us. He is our first ever fan reviewer on geekswhoLikeSports.com. He reviewed DayZ on Xbox One for us. It is Casey Owasco. Casey, how are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. And before we start, I want to go ahead and get this out of my system. I'm going to look at the screen and look at your faces because I don't want to spend the whole time you're talking to me looking down. So I'm going to be looking at the camera. I'm going to get that out of the way. Okay.
Don't worry, I still
remember
make that,
this face.
I still make a problem. I still look at the screen sometimes more than the camera half the time. It's a habit. It is what it is. But it's okay. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. So for those of you who don't know, this is something we started on the site, kind of reaching out to the community, our great Geeks Who Like Sports community, and we want to start hearing from you guys about your opinions of games. Obviously, I've done many reviews over the past decade, but it's always fun to see what other people think and how they can verbalize their opinions on reviews. And so, Casey, you reviewed DayZ, which it's actually an older game. It came out originally in 2013, but now it's been ported to all the systems, and it's on Xbox One now. I think it's part of the Xbox Games Pass. So tell the people a little bit about what you thought about this game and why you picked this game to do the fan review for.
Okay, so I picked this game because I was looking for something different to get into. With the pandemic and being kind of locked down, I really stretched the legs on the Xbox Game Pass to see what I could really get my money's worth out of it. And I've been watching and following DayZ for a while, even before that with Arma. Decided to give it a shot because it was on the Game Pass. It was no money out of my pocket per se for the game. So getting into it, it was a lot of fun being able to try something that I've been watching for so long because I don't do the PC thing. It's just a personal choice. I respect that, but I wanted to try the console version just to see what it was like, and then it kind of gave me the idea. So I should talk to this about, let my friends know about it. So that's kind of how this started. Was I wanted to try it out, and then my struggles and tribulations through all this, and how I could convey that to help someone else that might be doing the same thing I am, picking up a new game with not a lot of knowledge about it.
Yeah, you mentioned Arma 2, which is actually, it started off as a mod for Arma 2. For those of you who don't know, this is when people or developers go out and they take an existing game's framework and basically tweak it into almost a whole new game. It's how PUBG started, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and obviously really launched the Battle Royale genre. But this is obviously, it's an open world hardcore survival game.
Yes.
I would say more survival than horror, but obviously there are zombies, so there's a little bit of that horror element. But really, Casey, as you found out, aren't the real monsters other players?
Most definitely. I would say probably 98%, and maybe even that 2% that you think's friendly, they're still thinking about taking you out.
Yeah, you know what's amazing? I loved reading your review, which by the way is on geekswholiksports.com. If anybody would like, we obviously implore all you to read it. I love when reading your review because you even say in there like, yeah, the zombies are great, but man, people will backstab you in this game. And I'm thinking like, oh, so it's like it is like a real world game. What's funny about the game? This is the question I have to ask. Okay, so one of the things that kind of like ruined The Walking Dead for me was when I realized early on in the show, and again, I know the comic book, but I thought the show might take a different route. I learned early on in the show, like this thing's not ending. Like they're not going to end this thing. And then they started going down to like the people are the villains, right? Which was kind of cool. But 42 seasons later, I'm like, yeah, I just want it to end. Now you're living that in the game. The game is the living embodiment of that. So
yeah,
does it get exhausting always having to look over your back, or is that what makes this game great?
it does, but I feel like you're picking this game up looking for that type of edge to begin with, and it's funny because like when you first start playing, you're super aware or trying to be aware of everything going on. You're super hyper paranoid, but then as you get the flow of the game and you're playing along, you kind of let your guard down, and that's usually when you get got by a bear, a bunch of zombies, another player. It's that rush that most of us compete in games or play games or some type of adrenaline feed. That's what it is for me anyway. So like I'm picking this game up knowing that's what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, I could totally see that too. And like I said, it's an interesting content. That's like you guys know my personality. That's not something I want to do, but I really do get the appeal of it. I really understand like how a group of people. I love that. Yeah, you keep your guard down. That's when the bear shows up. Apparently the bears. It's not just the zombies in this game. It shouldn't be called DayZ, which just sounds like I'm saying Jay-Z on the air all the time. By the way, they should just called it. We're screwed. That would have been a better name for it.
Yeah.
I think people would have played that. But again, I'm gonna defer back to Ray. Ray is the professional gamer and game reviewer on here, so he has some in-depth questions. I'm sure he wants to ask you.
Sure.
I can't wait to watch your reaction.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, with a survival game like this, having to inventory management, obviously making sure you get that stuff. Talk about the real in-depth survival aspects and like really, what you have to do to survive in this game. There's a real sense of realism to here.
Yes.
You don't usually see. It's a zombie simulation, as I like to put it, right? Like zombie apocalypse simulation. So, tell us a bit about that. What you had to do to survive while playing.
So the way the game starts off is you're just spawned on the shore of this random place, and already you have things going against you. You have there's an apple icon and a water bottle icon in your bottom right of your HUD, and they say it's hydration and food levels, but I call that's your starvation and dehydration, because those are going down as soon as you begin your life on the shore. And your first goal has to be find food, find water, and get inland, because
so it's like Link's Awakening.
you could say that maybe a stretch, but
just minus the zombies, open world, and other people, but
so
it's the same game.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. So I mean, before you can even worry about defending yourself against zombies, you have your food and your water are already against you. So you're already in that mode of like, I have to find something to eat, something to drink, and oh great, now it's raining. So when it rains, your character gets wet, your gear gets wet, then you get cold, you die. I spent so many times dying in the beginning of this game just trying to get myself inland, which is like the end game, but not really. But if you're off the shore, you're already in a good spot.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So definitely having to. So yeah, how hard is it to get inland? It sounds easier than it is. Like tell us like. So I imagine at some point you did make it inland. Tell us about that journey, to how you got inland, at least for the first time.
Okay, so the first time that I got in, it was after many times of dying of a gamut of reasons, being hungry, food, water, all that stuff. Finally get in, start finding weapons, make it to a military checkpoint, found some military gear. I was able to get some weapons, and then I got attacked. So my first time getting inland away from the shore, I was getting attacked by at least 10 zombies. I'm stuck in a garage, and I used a VoIP, which is to speak to someone that's in your area because I heard another player. And he ended up being friendly and saved me, and I saved him in a way too because I had bandages and he didn't have any, and he killed the rest of the zombies for me. So that was my first time getting inland as I met another player, and it didn't end the way I thought it would because usually you get bopped by people, but this time, my first time in, I met someone friendly that helped me make it another day or two into the game.
Nice. So like you said, not everybody's a jerk. Most
Correct.
of them are jerks, but there's a
True.
couple. Yeah.
And that was the last time, Casey.
Yeah, that was pretty much the last time. Definitely, but it actually was the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's amazing is, again, for those of you listening, again, the way we're doing the rankings on these games, we're using a different scale. It's not just 0 to 10. We're using a scale. Like for this one, it's Batman villains, right? And each villain has obviously a different numerical number. Very fitting. This game got, I'm not going to tell you, but it is fitting. So if you want to see what this game got, you have to head over to the website. It is Batman villains, and all I will tell you is the villain that happened to go with the number that Casey gave the game is I mean, you guys were all great. It's the perfect villain for this game. Let's see if you could figure that out. See, now you have to go check it out. I know what I'm doing. We're going to link it to this episode. Don't worry. No, don't say you're not going to do it. This is like the game now. I got to fight you all. Anyway, sorry, Ray, that was my comic relief. Back to you.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say, so like, what were some of your, what were some of the things that detracted from the game? What were some of the things that really caused you real gripes and really kind of stuck in your craw when it came to what this game offered and your general experience?
Yeah, so definitely the first thing that's right out the gate is the huge learning curve that you have to deal with. Not just with the game itself when you actually get there, it's getting there that was the other problem for me. So when you begin the game, it's like there's very limited selection of where you're going, not too much in the way of telling you where to go. And then there's a server list. So if you've played with PC, you might be aware of how server lists go, but that's not typically the architecture for an Xbox game or a console game. So the first time I picked it up and I got to a server and decided to hop off, I didn't remember the server number. So then I spawned somewhere completely different. And then it's when I realized that it uses a persistence on the servers, and you have to remember why or what server you went into. And they don't say how important that is. If you're a big fan of continuity and making sure you're still in the same place when you come back, you have to remember that. And I didn't know that for a little while. That's why I did my own research. But a simple prompt on the screen would have helped with that.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that, they didn't give players that are playing it on console a heads up, because typically I think they do on the PC version, but it's kind of like if you're playing on console, you're probably not as aware of what the PC version is. Because I'm like you, I'm a console guy first, right? Like I'll occasionally play on PC, and I respect for the most, I have a problem about any group of people that calls themselves the master race.
Yeah.
So PC master race people.
Me too.
Yeah. We're not fans of that. So I'm a console guy, but there's definitely I think more of a learning curve if you're not coming over, because I don't know a lot of people who would play on PC and then play on Xbox. So I could definitely see how that would be a problem. What else was there? Anything else that really kind of stuck at you? And tell us a little bit more about the zombies. What were the zombies like? Were they fast zombies? Were they slow zombies? Were they what kind of zombies are we talking about here?
So I mean, if you poke the bear enough, per se, like you're gonna get messed up pretty good. So you can avoid them. It is possible to avoid them. You can do the quiet route. You can take a couple out with like melee weapons. If you pop your gun off though, and there's enough around, you're gonna get swarmed. And I don't care how good you are. You have a 40-round magazine in an M4. Those 40 rounds go quick, and you have to reload magazines that you hope to God that you put bullets in, because that's the other thing. You have to put each round into each magazine and have them in your inventory. So you could think you're good, but then you throw a magazine that has like 2 rounds in it. Now you're getting whooped by 8 different zombies. And then the next lucky player who heard all the sounds going on for those gunshots, he's going to come over and grab all your cool stuff. So
it really is real. I mean, this is
gotta
like
respect
a real life
it.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can mess around with it a little bit, but know that there are repercussions for your actions.
So, Casey, really quick, most important question. What kind of player are you in this game? Are you someone who backstabs someone and takes their stuff, or are you the good guy?
So the way that I usually go about it is if I find myself on the shore and I'm geared out with all kinds of good stuff, and I see a fresh spawn, someone that's in the very obvious starting clothes or doesn't look like they have a lot of stuff, I won't mess with them. I might go over and talk to them, maybe put them in handcuffs, ask them where they're going. If they seem cool, then I'll give them some food and let them on their way. But if I see a fully kitted player that I don't know somewhere in the same area that I am, they're going down because I know they're going to do the same to me.
Oh, wow.
Fair
Okay,
enough.
so important question for the people watching this right now. Again, please go read Casey's full review on geekswholikesport.com.
Yes.
Is this a definitely must get it, check it out, or is this a no need to go?
I would definitely check it out with the thumbs
There you
up.
go.
All right.
sure.
That's this one.
There you go. Yeah. So there you go. Like Lee said, geekswholikesport.com. Check it out. Casey, thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking to us about DayZ, and hopefully we'll hear some more fan reviews from you and from others in the community going forward.
First fan review, huh?
Yeah.
There you go. Great work, Casey.
Thank you
job.
for having me, guys. I appreciate it. And one last thing is I want to throw this up here because we got
okay, we're good. All right, we're good. That's enough.
What's that you got there, Casey? I like
we're
it.
multiplying. You got to deal with another Philly fan.
Oh gosh, it's worse than the zombies.
I'm just gonna stare it right now.
Okay, that's enough. On to our next segment. Thank you again, Casey, so much for coming on, dude. We really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for taking the time.
Back to the episode. That was awesome. I just think it's
Yes.
great that we're doing these things now. So again, if you want to submit a fan review, this is an open kind of invite right now. Obviously, send us a message. Send Ray or us a message. What game you want to do and when. We'll set it up. This is something new we're doing on the show. The show is not just about Ray and us. The Geeks Who Like Sports community is a large community, and we want to include you in it. So if you want to do a game review of any type, we do have some outline stuff that you need to follow. It's nothing huge. All right, but contact Ray. Don't contact me. Contact Ray. He's the one.
And I will edit you. I will edit you.
I will edit you. But again, just like Casey, if you want to go at it on alone with no friends and no one to help you, DayZ is the game to do that. Speaking of going at it alone with no friends,
I was just about to say. Speaking of, very well done. Folks might have heard the next big project from Kevin Eastman, who we had on a few episodes ago. Be sure to go back and listen to that if you haven't. Is TMNT Ronin, where 3 of the Turtle brothers have been killed, and one is using all of their weapons, plus their own natural weapons, to avenge them. This seems like an awesome concept. We don't know who the turtle is. Most of us, money's on Michelangelo. Sounds like house money's on Michelangelo. But honestly, any turtle, except for probably Donnie. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think Donnie would be able to be a Ronin. Probably you could have an argument for. Lee, this sounds awesome. What do you think? Do you think it's Mikey? Do you think it's Raph? Where are you going?
This is what I think's gonna happen. If this is how I would do it, okay, for anybody who cares, okay. So what would happen is he's gonna have a black eye mask on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you will not know which turtle it is throughout most of the comic.
Until probably towards the end, yeah.
Yeah. Like that was one scenario. The other scenario that I heard was that maybe they do this with each turtle individually.
Oh,
right?
like an alternate universes where
which I don't like that idea as much.
Yeah, I don't like
okay. Yeah, I like the idea where it's
this is already an alternate universe, so
exactly. That's fair too, right? But I think they should do it. It would be a black, eye mask. I don't know what the name of that thing is.
Yeah, domino mask. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And maybe you never find out what turtle is. Maybe that's the moral of the story. It doesn't matter, man. If there's not one, there's none of them, right?
That's true.
Do you want to know what Splinter and Shredder's role is in all of this? Obviously,
yeah.
I'm gonna guess Splinter's not around. That would be my guess. It'd be a little too convenient.
Yeah.
But I would be absolutely okay if you never find out which brother it is.
I agree. Actually completely. I think
that's
it'd be cool.
how I would do it.
I mean, there's a part of me obviously that wants to know, but I think that would also be very cool if you just, you just kept it a secret.
Yeah, and I wonder if the story is going to have 2 stories going on at one time, which is one is of how they died, and then the other story is the main storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, it's extremely intriguing. It's the most intrigued I've been about Turtles in a long time, and I love Ninja Turtles. Don't get me wrong, but this is definitely being marketed right. It's something that everyone's going to want to know, and I can't wait for the TV movie. Yay!
Yeah, this will be great. I agree. Yeah, and speaking of speaking of movies, you mentioned movies there. We got a lot of stuff happening in the movie industry this week. Tenet has been the new Christopher Nolan movie has been delayed indefinitely because AT&T and Warner Brothers has said they refuse to put it on a streaming service. It will debut in theaters whenever, but it has been pushed back from its late summer. I think this is the 3rd delay of the film. At this point, they just not even going to put a date on it until they're sure they're through the pandemic.
Yeah, it's probably smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Christopher Nolan, amazing director. Some not just the Batman stuff, but everything he's done has been
It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
he is, to be fair, he is the only one making major motion picture original films right now. Everything else is usually a reboot or it's a continuation or a sequel. He's one of the very few directors that on that level, in terms of like MCU type level releases, he's the only director right now making original stuff in my opinion.
Yeah, Inception, Dunkirk, which of course was actually based on a true story, and then obviously now Tenet. Yeah, everything he's done. I mean, I think he also did The Prestige way back.
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, like so.
His films are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done, and of course, obviously, the Batman trilogy that he did, his Batman trilogy.
Well,
so.
and here's the thing too. I give AT&T actually a little bit of credit. So, and this is kind of where I want to go with the discussion, if that's okay. Is that they're nodding at Nolan here because Nolan makes his films for the big screen, and he takes a lot of time and he puts a lot of effort into making it for the big screen. Tom Cruise is also somebody who does this, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and again, Top Gun Maverick, they just moved it back an entire year, right? To respect, like there's no need for us to try and do this. It's going to go back a year, and it's the same situation, just different film. But they're respecting Nolan here and saying that, look, we know how much time you put into this, so we will release this in the theaters, win, lose, or draw, because of who you are. He also has a multi-movie contract with them, and I think that they want to keep him happy because he's making movies. The bigger discussion here is this. Depending on how long this goes, depending on how theaters are, when this ends, whenever that is, this is the big question, Ray. Is it time for directors to start thinking a little bit more about streaming is the future, big screens are not going to be the way forever, and that the at-home entertainment systems are starting to become a level where they can compete with a movie theater? Now, with that said, I love going to the movies. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. There is nothing that compares to being in a theater with super surround sound and a box of popcorn. I don't want anybody out there to think I'm rooting for theaters to fail, but I am a realist. Yeah. Okay, and the at-home experience is a lot different than it was in 1992.
Yes.
Okay, and the TVs are only getting better and bigger.
Yes.
So at some point, it's in my opinion, at some point directors need to take a seat back and go, okay, look, I need to challenge myself to make a better movie on a big screen. I completely understand when like J.J. Abrams comes out and says, don't watch this movie on your phone.
Yeah.
I totally get that because you're going to miss some things, okay? But if you got a 75-inch TV in your house, which is becoming really affordable, let's be honest about it, in terms of what that was 10 years ago to now. I'm not saying it's affordable, obviously, like you can just go out and grab one. But honestly, a 60-inch TV is what a probably 24-inch TV cost 10 years ago now. You can get a good at-home experience now. All right, and I think people are doing that. And I bet you the pandemic, I bet you a lot of people have upgraded their home entertainment systems at this point. I don't have the numbers on that.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You got a new TV.
I got a new TV literally like 2 days before they shut down all the retail stores.
So I'm going to spin that back to you. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do the directors keep giving a middle finger and saying, no, I make big movies for the big screen? Or is it time for them to say, look, I can move my art to this medium and I can do just as good of a job, outside IMAX films, to be fair.
Right. I think
IMAX is the Deadpool of this conversation.
Right, yes.
I
think you're going to have a mix. I think there are going to definitely be a lot of directors out there, especially with the chance for, if it means getting their project made and get it put on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, like they'll be willing to sacrifice a little bit of that technical fidelity with a camera or whatever just to get their project made. So I think you're going to see more directors and producers and writers willing to focus more on streaming. But if you are somebody like a Nolan or a Tom Cruise or one of these big names that have established themselves and can kind of demand that, you're going to see resistance from them.
Absolutely. Well, and then the other question is, will we see the rise of the new wave of directors now? And I think that's what's more likely to happen. Is you have things like Quibi that do really short episodes. Yeah. You're going to start to see the rise of the digital director that is not focused on the big screen. And again, we're about that kind of time period where we're about to switch over. I mean, there's not really many new directors out right now. Yeah. But here's the thing. Scorsese has done this. He put The Irishman on streaming. Yep. Not that this is at all the same level, but we're going to talk about this a little bit. But Bill and Ted Face the Music announced this week that they are going to be available in theaters, but they're also going to launch on streaming the same day.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a very smart move by the people behind that movie. Extremely smart. Yep. All right, and you're going to start seeing this. Obviously, nothing from Marvel or Disney. They're pushing everything back, which I understand. Right. But with the success of things like The Last Dance and The Mandalorian. To me, this is an inevitable step. It might take some time. The only way, in my opinion, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, but not for a few months. The only way, in my opinion, the theater makes a major comeback is they have to completely rethink the theatrical experience. Okay, which means less tickets, probably for more money, but you get more with it. All right. If they do that, the theater can survive. I still have not seen anything to show that any theater has done that, unfortunately. All right, it's just that we're going to open. If you're opened and there's someone sitting next to me that I don't know, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's
I
true.
don't know how else to say that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, especially inside an enclosed space with recycled air conditioning. Like,
no way. Yeah. Sorry,
no,
I'm not doing it. Right?
It's a bad idea. It's something that...
It was a bad idea before coronavirus. Sorry, come on. You know what I mean? You don't want to go to the theater in the middle of December. I'm so sorry. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's like being on a plane.
For sure. It's
with surround sound.
We talked about this with the rental store industry. We talked about this with every industry that resists change. Doesn't last. Typically,
it's coming.
When new technology comes around, they get pushed out if they don't change with the times. So, there you go. But we're still on the movie subject. A couple of rumors now. Some things. So ComicCon online happened this week, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of even forgot it happened.
It's true. It was very low key. Very low key.
There was a few big stories, right? Like, again, speaking of Bill and Ted, Keanu Reeves was his wholesome self that talked about his movie, and there was a few other things, but there was a few announcements, and we'll talk to them, but mostly rumors. And of course, one of our favorite subjects now, the Snyder Cut. We've seen the Black Suit Superman. There's rumors. This is the big one. Ryan Reynolds coming back for a Green Lantern cameo. He sounds like he'd be willing to do it if things could be worked out. Do you want Ryan Reynolds back as Green Lantern? What would you think about seeing him back in the DCU and movie universe?
It's a great question because here's the thing. They could reboot that character because I don't think there's anything really linking Green Lantern the film to the modern DCU, right? Like I know they say it takes place in the same universe, but there's nothing linking that. Yeah, there's nothing in that links it. There's nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and that's my point. So if I'm Ryan Reynolds, I'm not just redoing that position. I'm saying, and Ryan Reynolds has the power to do this now. He says, "I'll do it, but we're going to do it right."
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I would do. I would bring Hal Jordan back in the right way. I would do it without the CGI suit. All right, like if it's going to be a mockery like before, he wouldn't do that. So I think Ryan Reynolds would I'll do it if you do it the right way. And here's the other thing you could say. It's not the first time I've had to do that.
Yeah.
All right, they completely messed up Deadpool in Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I clearly know how to bring a character back.
Yeah.
So I would say that let me do this the right way. All right, if you're going to bring a Lantern in, let's do it the right way. And then we can even see if there's interest for another Lantern movie, which is a movie that really could work really well. Yeah. But that's what I think he's doing, is saying let's do this right, because I guess a lot of people that probably don't know this, but when they were making Wolverine Origins, and he was playing Wade, he said, he was very outspoken, this is not Deadpool. This is not how you do Deadpool. This is wrong. Yeah. And they said, shut up and make the movie. That's pretty much how that story goes. Yeah. You shut up and you play this character the way we tell you to. And it bombed, and it was horrible, and everybody hated it, and then he brought Deadpool back, and I don't know who I don't know who leaked that footage, but Deadpool was born from leaked footage. I know it was him.
It had to have been him. It had to have been him.
Deadpool was relaunched from leaked footage. So, I think if they do it right, and Ryan Reynolds says, let's get it right, it could totally work. And again, it's just going to be a cameo to my opinion.
Yes, it's just a cameo. It's not a big thing.
Yeah. He might not even have any lines. Okay. By the way, this is coming off them saying they're not going to film anything, which I knew was BS when they said it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, again, looking forward to whatever they're going to do here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. Again, if Ryan Reynolds signs off on it, that would give me more faith in it, because I think that, like you said, He knows what he's doing. He wants to do well with the characters. He even joked in the Deadpool movies about how bad Green Lantern was.
Yeah, it was a great joke. Yeah, he kills himself.
It was hysterical.
Here's the other thing too about ComicCon real quick is that the reason why ComicCon was kind of under the radar this year is because there's nothing to talk about. Everything they talked about was supposed to be coming out now, and they're not going to talk about anything new that's 2 years from now.
Yeah, it's all
so I mean,
delayed.
like again, it was cool because Bill and Ted 3 got some spotlight. Kevin Smith did the interview there. It was really good. I really am looking forward to that movie. I was a big Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure fan. Bogus Journey was but I was a really big fan of Bill and Ted. I think that's cool. They're making a third movie. It's right to Gen Xers and kind of like early millennials. So, and I would look forward to revisiting those characters if they know how to make fun of themselves a little bit. And I love time travel films. Let's just be honest about it.
Yes.
Also, we know George Carlin's going to be in the movie, even though he's passed. They obviously have some old footage of him, or they're doing something, so that's going to be special. But yeah, most of the stuff it's cool that Snyder got a little bit of time, but like there's nothing new to report. They can't give you the new blockbusters. The only Marvel movie they could have talked about was the Eternals, and they're totally going to save that because they don't want you to know about it now. What? Marvel's doing this totally smart. Marvel's kind of like this right now, like.
Yep, just waiting for it all to blow over.
Yeah, because they have the top-grossing movie of all time, so they don't care. All right. By the way, I was looking at my watch and whistling. If you're listening to this on the podcast, to be fair, the Geeks Who Like Sports show actually gets a lot more views than the podcast gets listens, which is totally fine. It doesn't matter how you consume this.
Yeah.
But like we don't ever want to disrespect the podcast because we do have quite a number of podcast listeners, which is awesome.
Yes.
So thank you all.
Yes. No, for sure.
So anyway, keep going.
One more story that did come out of Comic-Con online though is that something that I was excited about and something that really helped kind of inspire me to get in my games journalism career is that it came out that G4 there it is G4 is as Lee holds up a little cue card there. G4 is coming back in a form, and then that it'll be a website, but it'll be dedicated to. It sounds like they're bringing back a lot of the old shows, even if they're only going to be on YouTube or whatever.
You should explain what G4 was or is, just in case.
So G4 actually started out as Tech TV way back in the day, and it was really the only channel on television that was doing legit video game coverage for that medium.
Yeah. Way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time, and then of course NBC acquired it, Comcast, NBC Universal, and they really screwed the pooch. They really drove it into the ground, and
which was a horrendous move, by the way, because that could have been a huge property today.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, when I first heard this announcement, my hope was that they were going to be bringing back X-Play and Attack of the Show for Peacock, which is their new streaming service. Because I think it would make a great home there if you tried to archive the episodes. I'll admit, not all of the sketches and all the comedy from the mid 2000s has aged very well for our sensitive society at this point. But again, you got to think of the time period, not forgiving it, not excusing it, but
it's a different time.
Yes, exactly. And like Milton Berle always used to say, they can't all be pearls. So. That's usually what he would say when a joke of his bombed. Anyway, but yeah, it was really ahead of its time in terms of a lot of the game coverage that it did, and folks like Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler and Kevin Pereira and folks who Olivia Munn really came from G4.
Yeah, that's true.
However you feel about those people, for me at the time as a late teens gamer, I looked up to a lot of those folks because that's what once I realized that sports might not be the way for me, in the back of my mind I was like I could do that. Yeah. And then I did that.
You and I have completely parallel origin stories. It only leads to one road, Ray, that we're going to be arch nemesises at some point.
Well, that sucks.
Whenever that happens. That's probably episode 200 or something, though. So we got some time.
We got some time. But yeah, so G4 is back. That's a big deal, even if it's just in web form, and if they're doing YouTube videos. I don't know. Again, very few details, but next year they said a 2021 return in the.
It's a cool trailer. It's a cool trailer. They showed a lot of old gaming systems, and then if you go to the website now, it's all in MS-DOS.
That's funny.
And they force you to play Pong, and it's really hard, by the way. All right. In fact, I didn't have the patience. If you win 4 times in a row, they take you on to something else, and I can't beat it, and I just stop. So, Ray, that's on you now. You got to find the G4 new website, play Pong, win 4 times in a row. Good luck, and report back to us here next week on Geeks Who Like Sports.
All right, I will get right on that. Yes,
please.
I will get right on that. But so that does it for ComicCon Online. Couple of quick other video game stories.
Let's talk about Xbox X.
Yes.
Xbox X.
Yes. Actually, first the game that's not going to be on the Xbox X.
Yes.
Or the PS5 is EA Sports announced this week that NHL will only be coming to Xbox One and PS4. They will not do a next gen port, which for most folks it was a red alarm. For me, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They're a smaller team. It's hard to try and get a game maximized for 2 different SKUs or 2 different generations.
No.
And I think that look, I'm not going to lie, this year's game probably is not going to be very good.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, too, if NHL 20 was good, this would probably be a different conversation, but it didn't do well.
Right.
And I think that the NHL, they've really fallen off, NHL games at EA, unfortunately. They used to be the toast of the town for about 10 years, and they've just fallen off completely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true, and it's just you hope that this will make them come back stronger, bigger, better, faster, all that stuff next year.
This is your chance. This is your chance, or a competitor is going to come along. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, that is possible. That is possible.
I mean, people have been trying. I mean, they can't do NHL right now, but like Super Blood Hockey is around there. I mean, like, which is a totally different type of game. But I'm saying there's clearly people who want to make hockey games out there.
Yeah.
Do better,
it's true.
EA.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, people have tried. People have been trying this generation, arcade games, all that stuff, but they haven't been great. But at some point, somebody's gonna figure out, and somebody's gonna crack that code, and EA's gonna be a lot of trouble if they don't up their game.
Yeah.
But speaking of upping their game, Xbox. Speaking of the Xbox X, actually, Xbox Games Live did their live. Well, not live. It was the they showed off. An hour's worth of video games, mostly trailers. They had a long Halo Infinite demo, which for those of you who don't know is basically just Halo 6. It looked very much like the original Halo. It feels like they're trying to go back to their roots after Halo 4 and Halo 5 was not as well received as obviously the first 3. Or
mediocre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, not Killtacular. That's for sure.
Mediocre.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was definitely. I mean, it was a new developer too, right? Like Bungie went on to go do Destiny, which, funny enough, wasn't great either, in my opinion.
Mediocre.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like the 343 though they're going to take another shot and see if they can get it right this time. Otherwise, Halo Infinite might be Halo
indefinitely
finale. Yeah,
yeah.
Like it just,
finale indefinitely.
Yeah, So there's other games though. New Forza's coming, no surprise. Everwild, a fun game from Rare, looks like a new like an RPG kind of game. The Medium, if you're into survival horror, psychological horror, that looks really cool. Where like you play a game where like you're a medium, a psychic, where you're in the real world, and then you travel into the spirit realm, and you kind of go between the two, and a lot of flesh-colored walls and lots of blood and. If you like horror, at least at this moment, looks like it's something.
Ray, that's your Tuesday night, man.
Yes. But other than that, and the new Fable was teased. Finally, we've known it's been in the works for a while.
Great teaser too.
I'm super excited for it. Had a little joke there at the end, a little fun tease. Again, I'm not gonna lie. I think that the Sony one was stronger, but I think Microsoft still has a few bullets left in their gun that they haven't fired off yet, and. Hopefully they'll announce those sooner rather than later.
Yeah, look, this is just like I'm trying. How many new consoles have you and I been alive? How many generations have you and I been alive for now?
Too many to talk about.
Let's
see, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64.
Well, okay, wait. To be fair, okay, N64 is the first major like console gen that I really remember experiencing. Right, so let's start from there. That would be fair, right? Because like Nintendo and Sega. I mean, these are early days of gaming. They didn't have huge press conferences back then.
Right.
N64 was a big deal. All right, PlayStation and 64. So that's one and 64. Then what was it? Dreamcast and
well, you got GameCube and all that.
So that's two.
If you start with N64, there's probably like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay,
right?
so you and I have been through this 5 or 6 times. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay. the start of every single generation you and I have experienced, all 5 or 6, has been awkward as hell.
Yeah.
Okay, there's always one game that's like, oh my God! God of War was like that at one point.
Yes.
I remember that, right? Oh my God! And then 4 years from now, we're like, it was a long time ago. Okay, look at all the good games are coming out. And then year 3, Nintendo's like, look, guys, we made something new. Everyone will buy this because we're Nintendo. And then they do, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is completely normal. I mean, they're throwing everything out there. They're definitely still holding back. Okay, it's a weird time, but yeah, this is completely normal. This is a completely normal evolution. It's new. They don't know what's going on. I remember this.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's gonna be it is like you said, Lee. It is the same song and dance that we go through every console
time,
generation.
Yeah. It's also why this election is the most important election of your lifetime, Ray. For our younger viewers, every election for the rest of your life will be the most important election of your life. Just so you know, if you haven't caught on to that yet, okay? The stakes are always rising.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, both parties.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going
Yes,
because we have to honor someone.
A little bit of a sad note before we get to our mashup.
must
Just
honor
wanted to
this
mention Regis Philbin passed away this weekend. For those of you who don't know, probably one of the greatest hosts
Easily.
of all time.
Yes.
He's set the Guinness World Record for most hours ever on television. Obviously, hosted Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the first time around, but also Regis and Kathy Lee. He filled in for David Letterman at times. He was on the Joey Bishop show. That's way beyond. That's beyond our parents, right? In terms of television, right?
Just a good human too. I
Yes.
don't remember anything negative coming about Regis.
No.
And he was just late 80s, I believe.
He was 88 when he passed.
Yeah, that's
so
a life well lived. Life
Yes.
well lived.
And him too, and he also got to enjoy his golden years. He retired 10 years ago. Really, he still make appearances here or there, but for the most part, really bowed out gracefully from the spotlight and let other people take over. Michael Strahan and Ryan Seacrest after that, and it just and he again just a prolific host, and for us as hosts would be remiss to not mention his passing and celebrate his life, mourn his death, and condolences, of course, to his family and to his friends and to everyone who loved him. But we celebrate his life because it was a life well lived, and he was a influence on media both of us in media for years and years and years, and
we've all done an impression of him at some point. That's the ultimate flattery. We will not dishonor him by doing them now.
No, it would be really bad.
But
I'm not an impressionist.
Yeah, no. It's okay. Everyone has done that at some point if you grew up at the same time period. Especially when we were in broadcasting school, everybody did them.
Oh, for sure. Because again, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was huge back when we were younger, and he was one of those. He was one of those few guys. He dominated in daytime. He dominated in prime time.
Yeah.
Wherever you put him. Yeah, he just exactly. He was a warm, comforting voice, and he'll be missed. And so moving on now to our final subject of the day, which of course is our mashup. We have this will be a fun one. We took a fun mashup from a very serious topic that we had earlier.
Had to.
We had to lighten it up. We had to lighten it up for sure.
Did you say lighten it up, Ray?
Yeah. Jeez. For those of you who don't,
I looked into the light.
For those of you who are listening, Lee has a little flashlight thing that he just.
It's a switch. It's a
little switch that it's a little light switch.
Like,
and then you just watched out the camera. Okay. So obviously we deal with a lot of fictional characters with geeks. What fictional character shouldn't throw out a first pitch?
Once again, Deadpool is disqualified.
Yes. As always, from almost always, yes.
Yes.
Lee, what are your thoughts on who? I've got one that I don't think I am confident you will not see coming, because it's pretty obscure. But who is yours?
I mean, there's so many ways to look at this, right? There's like, who don't you want to see? Like, I wouldn't want to see Batman throw out the first pitch, right? That's not really a great answer, but it's like, I don't want to see him. Superman might kill the catcher. Don't want to do that. So I started thinking about, like, who's kind of got some practice. So the first names that came to my head, number one, Sonic the Hedgehog, right? That guy played a whole baseball game by himself
Yeah.
Because he can throw the ball and catch up to it before, to bat. He'd be horrendous because he just couldn't help himself.
Right.
Same thing, obviously, we go for the Flash. Definitely shouldn't be in there. Or any brooding, horrible person should not be in there. But you know who would be a good pitcher? The Riddler. You don't know what pitch is coming.
Okay. I don't know. To me, he'd always try to throw you a curveball.
Oh, dun.
Yes. So there you go. So
change up. What about a change up?
Oh, that's it. He's got two pitches.
He can see without seeing. To him, darkness is as day as night. What am I? Please, you're as blind as a pitcher.
bat.
Yeah.
But so okay.
They need to get that other cut of that movie out.
Oh gosh. But yeah, so for me, I'm gonna go to an obscure indie game. Have you ever heard of Octodad?
I mean, I'm kind of living that.
Okay.
No, I have
so
not.
Octodad is basically the concept of the game. It's hysterical because the motion controls, the physics of the game are ridiculous. It is you are an octopus pretending to be a dad with a family and in a house and go to a job, but because you're an octopus, your limbs are constantly going crazy and you're constantly going all over the place, and all you do is you make a mess wherever you go. So I would imagine if you tried to have Octodad throw a baseball, it would probably look like Dr. Anthony Fauci, and it would probably just go whoop, and it would be pretty bad. So that
sounds
choice.
pretty bad. I don't have anything to come back to that on because that's almost a perfect answer.
I went obscure with this one. I went obscure with this one. It's a deep cut.
Fine. Watch this, ready? But we want to know what you think. So comment below with which comic book or game character would be the best or worst, you can pick, at throwing out the first ceremonial pitch in a game. Also, before you're finished today, you should go to geekswholikesports.com. Check out the DayZ review by Casey Owasco. We want to thank him once again for joining us on this episode. If you're interested once again in doing that, please feel free to contact us, DM Ray or myself. We'll get you going with that. This is completely open to the community. We really love the community here. While we're the ones hosting the show, it is your community, and we're trying to make it more, let's just say, tangible for you. That's my close. Now Ray's going to do a completely different and better close before we move on to the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Again, if this is your first episode, where you been? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to anyone who's new. But yeah, follow us on Facebook. Obviously, join the group. You can listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher. We're everywhere you can possibly hear a podcast. But we do appreciate...
We are not mediocre. We're not.
We are not. We are getting better every week, growing every day. And we, again, appreciate the community, everybody out there. Please feel free to share this. And, again, comment below on any of the subjects we talked about here today. We know that, look, we are expecting different opinions. Some folks are going to agree with us. Some folks are going to disagree. Some folks might agree with me. Some folks might agree with Lee with certain things.
Might not agree with either of us, which is fine.
That is also fine, exactly. So, but we look forward to having a intelligent discourse with you all. I really hope so. But thank you all for listening.
Ray, describe what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah, hold your tongue. But thank you all for listening to episode. This has been episode 67 of Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everybody. We will see you next week.
Clinky.